Hello. So this YouTube channel did not get off to the way I wanted to get started. I had this huge plan. I was going to go out for this nice hike. I had this idea for a lovely little stream, little creek to actually go through, film, get some B-roll. But this turned out into so much more, and I'm actually glad. So when I woke up this morning on my day off, and I was like, all right, I'm going to film. My girlfriend texted me and she said, be safe out there. There's a storm. I'm like, holy crap, it hasn't rained in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, something like that. Let alone a storm. So I check and, man, the Doppler radar was terrifying. It was just coming for where I live. And it was only a few miles away, so it was almost here. But there's a park pretty close to my house, so I was like, you know what? I'm going to take this as a sign of Thor. Thor is here to celebrate YouTube with me, right? I mean, what Norse pagan is going to run away from a storm? We're the ones that charge into it because we think it's cool and because our God's up there. So I get here. It hadn't quite started raining yet. There was like a grandma and a grandson, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm just filming the storms. Yeah, I'm a weather photographer. So I'm not going to talk to this elderly lady and her grandson about Norse paganism. And then before I knew it, there was a soccer team over there, and I just automatically assume soccer teams are religious related, especially in like right now during this time of year. So I was like, well, maybe as soon as it starts raining, they'll disappear. But sure enough, they came in here in the one gazebo in the park. I should have seen that coming. And so I had to share it with all these soccer players, and that's kind of what my Instagram feed is right now, which is a bunch of soccer players just hanging out in here. I'm like, go away. And they're like, what's your YouTube channel? And I'm like, I don't really want to tell you because I don't know. And I still assume they were Christians at this point. So I'm like trying to hide, like, hide from the Christians. You're outnumbered. So they slowly started disappearing. And then the coach wanted to talk, and he was like, hey, what's your YouTube? I'll check you out. And I was like, I don't know if I'm quite ready to tell you. Like, I don't know you. And he's like, oh, okay. And he's like, well, what's it about? I finally opened it up. Oh, it's about paganism. It's about Norse mythology. I try to go around. Maybe it's about history, my education and whatnot. And then eventually I was like, you know what? Dude, I'm a Norse pagan. He's like, oh, cool. I'm an atheist. I'm like, oh, whoo, dodge that bullet. So that kind of opened up to a really great conversation. I recorded most of it. Hopefully you get to see a lot of it. I'm going to throw it in right here. I hope you enjoy the conversation. I didn't get all of it. It wasn't until like 5 minutes in, I was like, okay, I should probably be recording this. Like, I had my camera sitting there, but I was facing this direction. Just out of respect for him, I didn't record his face. I think I just got his audio. The audio quality isn't the best. Like, I got a lapel mic on right now, but it's only for me. This was kind of unexpected, but this is what I love about paganism, is the fact that I had this huge plan. I had all these plans. I had these screens and ideas of what I wanted to do today, but the gods had a different plan for me. And I went out into the world, and I had a very unique, wonderful conversation with someone, and I think it went really well, so I hope you enjoy it. And this is why I believe what I believe, is because these connections. Like today, I was going to go hiking. I was going to go to Raven Run by myself. Had this huge plan for this video.
A player on this team, his mom runs Raven Run.
Really?
Okay. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's cool. No, I love that place.
All right, go.
Thank you.
But yeah, if I have like any last comment,
Yeah.
it's about celebration. When I went to my first big funeral, I hated it because it was so somber, it was so sad.
Yeah.
Went to a wedding, it was boring. It was it was like, oh yeah, congratulations, but also it was like 6 hours of my life I'm never getting back. But it's right. You've been to a wedding and you're like, oh my gosh.
My own wedding, I was like, can we just go on vacation?
Right. It's about that.
That's funny.
But to me, that's a huge part of it. Yeah, I can go out, cover myself in body paint and make an offering to the gods, but really, it's about the folk. It's about getting together. It's about when you have a funeral, it's about celebration, not being sad, because that person's on to the next life.
Right.
There's nothing we can do about it, so we might as well celebrate who they were.
My Uncle Bill just passed in Connecticut, and he was a very joyous type of guy, and he was like, you have to have a party when I die.
Right.
So we threw a huge party for him with like a band and dancing and food, and it was amazing. But hey man, what was your name?
Oh, it's Jacob.
Jacob. Chad.
Nice to meet you, man.
Pleasure meeting you.
It was a pleasure.
Good luck with everything. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Good luck with everything. Good luck with connecting with people with the same mindset. It's awesome. And
and as much as I cherish those, I cherish things like this too, because I don't think you're ever going to go home and cover yourself in body paint and worship Odin. But I hope you've taken a piece of this. Like, wow, there's like,
oh yeah,
like there's some
I've literally
crazy stuff
never
out there.
met anybody like that.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
And that was the biggest struggle for me, is actually telling people I'm a Norse pagan.
Yeah.
And then it opens up things like this.
Yeah.
But hey, man, It was
Hey,
fun.
listen, I'm a northern liberal, so I don't know about other people around here.
Right. Oh, hey, it's Kentucky. You gotta hide sometimes.
Yeah, straight up. All right, Jacob. Be well, buddy.
Hey, it was a pleasure meeting you, man. So I really hope you enjoyed that counter as much as I did. It was a very pleasurable experience, and I've had a lot like those, even in my short time as a pagan. I've been a pagan 2 years, something like that, officially, and it's really only been a year. I've been comfortable telling people, hey, I'm a Norse pagan, especially in the Bible Belt of America. It's hard to go up to people if you get into that discussion to officially tell them. A lot of times, I don't think you can hear that, but Thor just cracked his thunder, and I love it. My journey. So I was born in Ohio to a pretty normal middle-class suburban family. I went to church every Sunday. I did upwards basketball. I went to Sunday school. I did Awanas, if you know what that is. So yeah, I was in the church system for a long time. Went to laser tag with them. Went to the pizza parties. Went to the video game tournaments. Went to church. And at the end of every week, my mom would usually ask me, hey, are you ready to head up to the altar and get baptized? Hey, are you ready to head up to the altar and get baptized? You know, and I'd see people with their hands in the air, worshiping Jesus. They're like, oh, feel him. And I'm like, is he like a spirit whale? Is he just flowing through your hands right now? Is that what you're feeling? And I just never felt it. I think I put my hand up once. I'm like, I wonder if he's actually up there. And I put my hand up, and I didn't feel anything. I didn't have any feelings towards God. I didn't really feel anything to Jesus Christ. I didn't feel his sacrifice. I didn't hear these tales, these stories, and feel anything. So I never got baptized. I just never felt it. So I went on about my life. I went to college for art. And of course, I started thinking about Buddhism. I mean, one thing I always was drawn to was meditation. I started practicing meditation. It was slow. I'd do it for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and eventually I finally got into a pattern. And I finally got into this deep, deep, dark room. It was full of doors. I just saw these doors in my mind. My mind was completely clear, but I could see these doors. And that was the first moment I'm like, whoa, this felt something. I felt something. I felt a connection. And so I wanted to explore that further, but I couldn't seem to open any of these doors. No matter how many times I meditated, no matter what I did, I could never open these doors. And then I was reading a book from the Dalai Lama, and I don't have the exact quote, I don't have the exact book, but it's always sat in my mind. Maybe I'll find it one day. But he was talking about how he doesn't want people to be Tibetan Buddhist. He wants people to learn from Buddhism. He wants people to learn meditation, wholesomeness, how to be kind, how to feel balanced in the world. He wants people to feel that. But as far as the Tibetan part, he wants people who are Tibetan to be Tibetan Buddhists, because that's the history, that's the culture, that's, the songs, the buildings are all Tibetan Buddhist, so it's for those people. And up to this point in my life, I thought, someone had told me once, they're like, why don't you worship the old gods? Because you seem to be interested in Viking stuff. And I was like, no, those are some dead gods, that's kind of crazy. And I was like 20 at the time, and I just didn't think anything of it. And then I read this, and I'm like, oh, I should worship the old gods. Like, I was finally at that point in my life where I'm like, you know what, let's give it a try. And I will never forget the day that after I started researching this, and after I started reading about Odin and trying to connect with him, and reading about Thor and Loki, I was walking down the aisle of this restaurant, and I was working at, and it hit me. I was just walking, I had a plate in my hand, I think, and all of a sudden I was like, I got hit by it. I got hit by that moment. I touched that spirit whale. But that spirit whale was Odin this time. And I knew it was Odin. I just had these flashes where it was like, oh my gosh, it's Odin. It was just like being hit with a euphoric rush of, what is this? I mean, I was kind of just sitting in the corner like, oh my gosh, did I just talk to a god? There's no way that Odin just talked to me. You know what? I'll give him a test. I was driving. I'm like, you know what, Odin? Send me a sign. If you're real, send me a sign. And part of me was like, maybe he'll just descend down and start striking people down and be like, I am Odin and I am real. What he did do was I pulled up to the bank right after I had this conversation with Odin. I went to deposit my money from the day's tips, and the bank teller comes on and says, hey, we just put $80 in your bank account. What? Yeah, we just put $80 in your bank account. Not the cash. We'll put the cash in too. No answer. No answer was ever given to me why they just put $80 in my bank account. And by the time I pulled up to my house, got out of the car, and I'm like, I guess I'm a pagan now. There's no way, there's no going back. There's no going back from this, because I had such a profound experience. I read more books. I started giving offerings, small ones at first, bottles of mead, bottles of wine, and eventually I upgraded to, steaks. I upgraded to, things I cooked. And the more and more I started doing this, the more and more connections to the gods. I started talking to Loki. I started talking to Freya. I started talking to Odin more. I've had connections with Heimdall a little bit. And it's like, the more I started reaching out to these gods, the more I got back from them. And then, and I've even tried to fake it. I'm like, maybe I'm just crazy. I'm driving. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to talk to Odin right now. Maybe I'll get that euphoric response again. Never does. Whenever I try to get that euphoric response of a god, whenever I try to get that connection, I can't do it. But then I'll just be driving, or I'll be walking, or I'll be at my house, doing something. All of a sudden, I feel the spirit wail again. So my overall message for this channel, the reason I've made this, is one, because I think Odin told me to do it, and he guided me. But also because I believe paganism has a future, a true, beautiful future. And I don't think the greatest age of paganism has ever come. I mean, yes, the Vikings had their day. The people in the past had their day. But we don't really know about that. I hope it was great, and I hope it was beautiful. But I don't think it was very unified. And we have evidence of that. We don't think they talked to each other very much. They didn't grow their faith together. But now we are so connected. I can talk to someone in Switzerland about their belief in Odin. I can talk to someone on the west coast of America about how they have a relationship with Tyr. So let's get together, and we can do something that our ancestors never were able to do. We can form this religion, paganism, into something that is real and unified. I don't think we're ever going to be fully connected. Everyone has different beliefs. But I think we can get together enough to have a true gathering to the gods. So until that day, I'm going to keep making videos. I'm going to keep posting to Instagram. I'm going to keep connecting to you. But please don't ever stop celebrating your heritage and your beliefs. So until next time, hail the gods.